But not all the sequels are bad. I mean, they're not needed either.
Seen it once, don't remember when. Think it's time to watch it again. Follow, subscribe, stay up to date. Episodes drop the last Friday. It's a Matt, forgot that. It's a Matt, forgot that. It's a Matt, forgot that podcast.
Welcome to the Matt Forgot That podcast, the place to recollect and reminisce. I'm your host, Matt Seroski, filmmaker, film fan. Each episode, I'm going to rewatch and review a movie or TV pilot that I've seen before but don't quite remember. It could be a blockbuster, critic's choice, or cult classic. To join in on the conversation, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Matt Seroski. You can subscribe to my YouTube page where I'll post videos and clips from the show. If you have any opinions on what I've reviewed, or want to share your own trip down memory lane, use the hashtag MattForgotThat on social. Before we start, I wanted to take a moment and talk about sequels that happen many years after the original. And I'm not talking about 6-7 years like between Terminator and Terminator 2 or Alien and Aliens. I'm talking about a decade plus. This seems to be a more recent trend because Hollywood has obviously given up. I'm not sure if this was the first time it happened, but The Hustler was released in 1961, and they did a quasi-sequel called The Color of Money in 1986, where Paul Newman reprised his role as Fast Eddie Felson. But most recently, we've had two franchises returning. Blade Runner, with its sequel Blade Runner 2049, which had a 35-year gap, and Top Gun, with its sequel Top Gun Maverick, 36 years later. I mean, that is some age gap. That is Leonardo DiCaprio and his latest girlfriend age gap. But not all the sequels are bad. I mean, they're not needed either. But I wanted to talk about one in particular, because I was a big fan of the original, and that's Happy Gilmore. It's a sports comedy film starring Adam Sandler as the title character. The film follows Happy, a hot-headed failed hockey player who discovers he has an incredible talent for golf, despite his complete lack of interest in the sport. Happy's journey begins when his grandmother's house is about to be repossessed by the bank, and to save her home, Happy enters a golf tournament with an unconventional and aggressive style. Despite his unorthodox methods, he gains attention, including from a tour professional, Shooter McGavin, who becomes his rival. Now, by the end of that movie, I didn't have any other questions. It really wrapped up the story. But the beloved character is back. This year, Happy Gilmore 2 was released, the highly anticipated sequel to the cult classic. It picks up several years after the events of the original movie, as Happy Gilmore has finally found balance in his life. But after a freak accident, Happy's life spirals out of control. To get out of his funk, he comes out of retirement and competes in a 5-on-5 tournament against a rival golf tour, Maxi Golf, who's looking to take over the sport. Happy Gilmore 2 is a good movie for what it is, nostalgia bait. It's great revisiting the character of Happy Gilmore, and even more fun seeing Shooter McGavin and all of the cameos that take place. If you went into this movie expecting anything else, then your sights were set a little too high. So if you have nothing to do over the holidays, and you're not a Stranger Things fan,
Inevitable Stranger Things reference.
then watch Happy Gilmore 2. On to the main attraction. Each review will end with a ranking out of 5 stars. 1 star is skip it, 2 stars watch at your own risk, 3 stars standard fare, 4 stars worth checking out, and 5 stars must see. Now, if I give a title 5 stars, it doesn't mean I'm comparing it to Casablanca, Jaws, or Seinfeld. I rank titles based on other movies or TV series in that genre and at that time period. On this episode of the podcast, I'm rewatching and reviewing Cool Runnings from 1993. It was directed by John Turteltaub, who helms karate flick Three Ninjas, rom-com While You Were Sleeping, fantasy drama Phenomenon, and adventure mystery National Treasure. The screenplay was written by Lynn Seifert, who scribed episodes of family drama Once and Again, and the team of Tommy Swerdlow and Michael Goldberg, who penned sports comedy Little Giants and slapstick adventure Bushwhack. It was based on a story by Lynn Seifert and Michael Ritchie. It stars John Candy as Irving Blitzer. After starring in beloved films like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and Uncle Buck, Candy's role as the disgraced coach Irving Blitzer in Cool Runnings marked another example of his deft ability to play both comedic and empathetic characters. Known for his larger-than-life presence and kind-hearted persona, Candy's career spanned multiple genres, from slapstick comedies to dramatic roles. Tragically, his career was cut short by a sudden death in 1994, just a year after Cool Runnings was released. His impact on comedy remains profound, with his films continuing to be celebrated by fans and critics alike. Leon, who played the determined and charismatic bobsledder, Darice Bannock, was already an established actor by the time Cool Runnings came out, having appeared in films like The Five Heartbeats and Cliffhanger. Leon's post-movie career saw him moving into both film and television. He had recurring roles on TV series such as The Diary of a Single Mom and 40 and Single, while continuing to make appearances in films like Waiting to Exhale, Ali, and Get Rich or Die Trying. Dougie Doug, known for his comedic flair and energetic portrayal of the lovable Sanka Coffee, found his character in Cool Runnings to be his breakout moment. He would be cast in the television series Cosby from 1996 to 2000, and made several appearances in films including Dr. Giggles, Operation Dumbo Drop, and Eight-Legged Freaks. Raleigh D. Lewis, who portrayed the earnest and lovable Junior Bevel, earned recognition for his role in Cool Runnings. He bounced between guest spots on the series Tracy Takes On, Malcolm and Eddie, and Life in Pieces, with roles in films Spy Hard, K-Pax, and Where We Begin. He wrote and directed the feature film Poet Heads in 2007. Malik Yoba, who portrayed the tough but ultimately good-hearted Yul Brynner, made a lasting impression in Cool Runnings. After the film, Yoba's career expanded into television, where he became well known for his role in the hit series New York Undercover. His successful TV career continued with roles in Alphas and Empire. So let's jump into it. This is what I remember. This is a bobsled, the team's introduction to their vehicle, and their first attempts at bobsledding, which is a chaotic disaster. The training montage. Yes, every sports movie has to have a training montage. It's the Rocky effect. And then the line dancing scene. I don't remember the context at all, but the team ends up in a bar and does some country line dancing for some reason. Now I'm heading off to rewatch the movie. This is what I forgot. Cool Runnings opens with Darice Bannock, a talented sprinter from Jamaica who dreams of competing in the Olympics. His hopes of making it to the 1988 Summer Olympics are dashed when his chance to qualify is sabotaged by an accident during the qualifying race. With his Olympic dreams shattered, Darice is devastated, but he remains determined to represent his country at the Games in some capacity. Inspired by the memory of a bobsledding team that had competed in the Winter Olympics years earlier, Darice sets his sights on creating Jamaica's first ever bobsled team. He recruits Sanka Coffee, a charismatic and fun-loving pushcart racer, as his teammate. Together they seek out Yul Brynner and Junior Bevel, two other pushcart racers with the skills and tenacity they need. The team's formation is met with skepticism from everyone, as the idea of a Jamaican bobsled team seems utterly absurd. However, despite the odds, the team is determined to defy expectations. After some struggle, they manage to convince Irving Blitzer, a former Olympic bobsled champion who was banned from the sport for cheating, to train them. Although initially reluctant, Blitzer agrees to take them on. And the stage is set for the team's grueling and humorous journey to the Winter Olympics in Calgary. Here's a quote without context. "We're different. People are always afraid of what's different." Cool Runnings is an inspirational sports comedy that blends humor with heart, turning an unlikely story into a triumph of perseverance, unity, and belief in oneself. While the film is based on the real-life story of Jamaica's first bobsled team competing in the 1988 Winter Olympics, it transcends the true events by focusing on universal themes of underdog perseverance and the challenge of overcoming societal expectations. The film explores the dynamics of friendship and teamwork as central to the success of the bobsled team. Each of the 4 characters comes from a different background with different motivations, and yet their common goals bond them. These evolving relationships provide the emotional depth of the film, with humor and warmth underscoring the personal growth that happens within the group. Their interactions reflect the importance of collective effort, not only in achieving success, but also in overcoming personal limitations and fears. While the film is predominantly a feel-good comedy, Cool Runnings also addresses cultural differences and stereotypes in a light-hearted yet meaningful way. This culture clash is not only played for laughs, it serves to highlight how these characters must navigate a world that is not their own. The film occasionally falls into the trap of reinforcing certain stereotypes, yet these stereotypes are ultimately subverted by the team's success, showing that preconceived notions about people can be broken down with determination, heart, and spirit. Despite being a comedy, Cool Runnings had a profound cultural impact. It demonstrated the power of sports to unite individuals across cultures and backgrounds, and it inspired many, particularly in countries that had never considered participating in Winter Olympic events. The film's message is clear. Anyone, no matter their background or circumstance, can achieve greatness if they refuse to give up. This makes it an enduring classic in the genre of inspirational sports films. Now for a little trivial trivia. The movie is based on a true story surrounding the events of the 1988 Calgary Winter Olympics, which was also the subject of another film, Eddie the Eagle, from 2015. The Jamaican bobsled team is actually mentioned in that movie as well. Cool Runnings was produced by Walt Disney Pictures and distributed by Buena Vista Pictures. It was filmed on location in Jamaica and Calgary, Alberta, Canada. The cinematography was captured by Pheidon Papamichael, whose filmography includes buddy comedy Sideways, rom-com This Is 40, motorsport drama Ford vs. Ferrari, and adventure sequel Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. He was nominated for 2 Oscars for Best Achievement in Cinematography for Nebraska and The Trial of the Chicago 7. It was edited by Bruce Green, who worked on family fantasy film Angels in the Outfield, rom-com While You Were Sleeping, teen comedy The Princess Diaries, and body swap comedy Freaky Friday. The score was composed by Hans Zimmer, who wrote the music for road trip drama Rain Man, war film The Thin Red Line, historical epic Gladiator, and sci-fi flick Interstellar. He's won 2 Academy Awards for Best Achievement in Music Written for Motion Pictures for Dune Part 1 and The Lion King. The soundtrack featured songs by Wailing Souls, Diana King, Tony Rebel, and Supercat. Reggae singer Jimmy Cliff recorded a cover of I Can See Clearly Now, which reached number 18 on the US Billboard Hot 100 and has since become the definitive version of the song. The runtime is 1 hour 38 minutes. It had a budget of $17 million and grossed $154 million at the box office. At the time of its release, it was the highest-grossing live-action film from Walt Disney. On the Ski Index, I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. If you've seen Cool Runnings and have opinions on the movie, let me know what you think using the hashtag #MattForgotThat. Moving right along, each episode, I'm going to post throwback clips that I think people should watch. It could be movie trailers, music videos, interviews, or something completely random. Search for my YouTube page and there'll be a playlist called Matt Forgot That Playback. Fine Young Cannibals were formed in Birmingham, England in 1984. After the breakup of the English Beat, guitarist Andy Cox and bassist David Steele decided to form a new band. After numerous auditions, they chose Roland Gift as their lead vocalist. They chose the name Fine Young Cannibals after the 1960 film All the Fine Young Cannibals starring Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood. Their self-titled debut album was released in 1985, fusing elements of new wave, soul, and pop, which would become their signature sound. The first single, Johnny Come Home, was a breakout hit, blending a funk groove with a socially conscious message about urban alienation and addiction. The album spawned several singles, including Blue and Suspicious Minds, the latter of which was an electrifying cover of the Elvis Presley classic, giving it a distinctly contemporary funky twist. But it would be their sophomore effort, The Raw and the Cooked, released in 1989, that became a massive commercial success. The single She Drives Me Crazy became their most iconic song, peaking at number 5 in the UK singles chart and topping the US Billboard Hot 100. Their second single, Good Thing, was featured in the Barry Levinson film Tin Men, and was a bit more soulful and jazzy, but still boasted that signature hook and rhythm that characterized Fine Young Cannibal's sound. It would also reach number 1 on the US Billboard Hot 100. After the success of The Raw and the Cooked, Fine Young Cannibals became a household name, but their momentum began to stall. The band entered a period of relative silence after the release of The Finest, a greatest hits compilation, and they took a break from recording and touring. Roland Gift pursued a solo career, which didn't enjoy the same success as Fine Young Cannibals. In 1992, the band started to work on a follow-up album, but after several delays, it was eventually abandoned. Despite attempts to get back into the studio, they never released a third full-length album. Fans would have to wait nearly 2 decades before Fine Young Cannibals would reunite for special projects or performances. Although Fine Young Cannibals' active career was relatively short, their influence and their lasting appeal of their hits continue to resonate. Their ability to mix infectious pop rhythms with deep soul and emotional vulnerability remains a defining characteristic of their music. In 2019, the band reunited for select performances, hinting that a return to the studio might be on the horizon, but as of right now, there have been no confirmed plans for new material. So I've selected a couple of clips of their biggest hits. They're all available in the Matt Forgot That Playback playlist on YouTube. Check it out. Now it's time for the recommendation. Yes, that's the word recommendation with Matt in the middle. I'm going to end each podcast with my own recommendation of a movie or TV series. Today I'm talking about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It tells the story of Wayne Szalinski, who creates a bizarre, homemade shrink ray intended to revolutionize the world of science. However, his invention doesn't quite go as planned. After a failed test, the shrink ray accidentally makes his children, Nick and Amy, and 2 of their friends, Russ and Ronald, the size of insects. Now tiny and vulnerable, the kids are left to navigate the perilous world of the Szalinski's family backyard, which has suddenly become an immense, dangerous jungle. With their lives at risk from everyday objects like blades of grass, garden sprinklers, and household pets, the kids must work together to survive and find a way back home before they're lost forever. It stars Rick Moranis, Marcia Strassman, Amy O'Neill, and Robert Oliveri as the Szalinski family. It also features Matt Frewer, Christine Sutherland, Thomas Wilson, and Jared Rushton as the neighbors. It was directed by Joe Johnston, best known for helming superhero films The Rocketeer and Captain America: The First Avenger, fantasy adventures The Page Master and Jumanji, and sci-fi sequel Jurassic Park 3. It was written by Ed Naha, journalist and author, and Thomas Shulman, who would go on to scribe comedies What About Bob, 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag, and Holy Man. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is a delightful mix of slapstick comedy, thrilling adventure, and imaginative storytelling that has made it a classic family film. The special effects in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids were groundbreaking for its time. The movie's visual effects team made creative use of practical effects, miniatures, and early CGI to bring the concepts of shrinking to life. One of the film's standout achievements was the way it portrayed the vast, oversized world from the perspective of the tiny children. To create the illusion of scale, the filmmakers utilized forced perspective shots, in which objects in the foreground, like blades of grass or insects, were filmed in such a way that they appeared much larger than the tiny actors. This technique, combined with large-scale sets and intricate miniatures of household objects, like a cereal bowl or a shoe, made the children's tiny size feel real and immersive. In addition to practical effects, the film employed stop-motion animation to create lifelike insects and other creatures. The scene with the giant ant, for example, was a blend of practical animatronics and stop-motion techniques, allowing the creature to interact with the tiny characters while still feeling convincingly alive. The film also features some early digital effects, especially in the scenes where the shrink ray causes objects and characters to shrink or grow. Although the CGI was relatively simple by today's standards, it was innovative for the late 80s and helped elevate the film's fantasy elements. There were 3 attractions created: Studio Backlot Tour and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids Movie Set Adventure, both in Disney's Hollywood Studios, and Honey, I Shrunk the Audience in Walt Disney World's Epcot. There were 2 sequels, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid and Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. A spin-off series, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids the TV show, premiered in syndication for 3 seasons, 66 episodes from 1998 to 2000. Over the years, there have been many attempts at sequels or spin-offs, but none have come to fruition. The last iteration had Josh Gad and Rick Moranis attached. That's all for this edition of Matt Forgot That. Thanks for listening to me reminisce. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Matt Seroski. You can subscribe to my YouTube page where I'll post videos and clips from the show. If you have any opinions on what I've reviewed, or want to share your own trip down memory lane, use the hashtag MattForgotThat on social. Head over to mattseroski.com for all the latest news and updates, and come back next time for the rewatch and review. They managed to convince I keep on wanting to say Irving Berlin. And adventure mystery, natural treasure. National treasure, excuse me. Their self-titled debut album?